That was a good trailer.
Yeah, it was.
It was a trailer. Let's hope the movie is. I think it's.
I think it will be. From that trailer, I think it will be.
It's The Last of Us. Everybody knows it, and it's so much more about now. We've been saying it since
I
the
just
beginning.
really hope at the end he fights a giant samurai again. Robot.
That was the stupidest shit in that movie. I wasn't as much of a fan of the Wolverine as the rest of you anyway, but I mean that scene.
I mean, I thought that movie was shit. So.
Well, you did as well.
Not exactly.
I love all of it up
Just
until the last Robo fight, and he's like draining his powers through his claws or something. I don't even.
I just couldn't stand that lizard woman that used to whisper all her lines and shit. Because I just
Madam Hydra.
It just makes my skin crawl. I don't know what it is. Characters when they whisper and act like that, I don't know. It's weird. It's like
I'm with
French
Armin,
perfume
though.
commercials.
Like, that movie was cool until, like, the last, like, 20, 30 minutes, whenever that fight starts. But, like, it's cool. And then Logan looks like another one of the movies. I said it last week. The first trailer and even this one kind of makes it seem like it's going to be more than just your typical superhero movie, which, I mean, good for it if it does that.
See, I don't know. I think this trailer seems more in line with everything, like every other comic book trailer.
Well, as we all say, trailers can be misleading.
Usually,
music.
It's the citing of the X-Men comic book within the movie that.
Well, that was weird.
It's like that you don't see in anything.
But that was really weird. Actually, no, we said it before. There was Captain America comics in the first Avenger.
Oh shit, there were.
Yeah.
Fuck, I completely forgot about that.
See, when
But then he
people
had
say,
his
like,
own theme song and stuff in that movie. Like that makes more sense.
I don't get why people like get a little bit mad when you see stuff like that in comics. Doesn't it make sense in a world where these
it
people
makes
exist
sense,
that
but
someone
the
would create
context they use it in, where he goes, "Oh, only a quarter of this actually happened how it did." It's just kind of like, well, who cares about this? But that's just bullshit. That we're the important bit. That's how it comes across. But
basically, it was an apology.
So it just seems like a funny, like, or not a funny, but it just seems like, oh wow, like he went through some tough times, you know, like.
Yeah, but he's not. He's saying that only like it's not all real. Like the comics don't matter in that world because they're the comics.
Yeah, plus it makes me salty because he has the suit in the comics, but it's probably like, I never wore a suit.
That's the first thing he should have done was like, one of the main things that never happened that's in the comics is I never wore that stupid yellow spandex.
I don't know if he's trying to say that though. When Mitch was saying like, "Oh, the comics."
Well,
don't
no,
matter.
I'm not saying they're trying to say that, but that's how it comes across, and that's how it's come across to a lot of people.
In the trailer,
it's kind of like,
I just thought in the trailer it comes off across as, nobody can actually depict how bad it was for them or how crazy it was for all the times
that's probably what they're going for, but
I think more and more of it is because The Last of Us influences are so clear anyway, but one of my favourite things in that game was collecting the Savage Starlight comic books while going along the way. So you can just tell that basically this is their version of Ellie. She has her comic books. It's almost beat for beat, but
there you go. Your Last of Us movie, right?
I know. That's why I'm so excited for this one now.
I think The Last of Us is kind of like the surface layer you could ever like.
Oh, but it's so like they've even taken.
I think it's going to be vastly different to that.
Yeah, I think so too. But you're right.
Laura's not anything like Ellie
in the comics.
No, in that trailer, she's nothing like Ellie.
She barely does anything in that trailer.
Well, I mean, she kills a guy.
Kills someone.
Slices the dude's faces.
Oh, Ellie kills people.
Ellie did the same thing.
Yeah, Ellie killed a paedophile.
Yeah, but that's a paedophile.
And set fire to him, and
that's all right. He deserved it.
At least killed a bunch of people.
This just seems one of those movies
and then once she finally learned how to use a gun, she just started shooting people.
But that's more gameplay oriented. That's not story oriented.
She gets her bow and arrow when Joel's injured, and
well, it's like I love the scene in the trailer where it's like, okay, slowly they're building her up, she's doing the claws and stuff, but then it's like after that comes out, oh man, did the internet get confused with everything? Because like Hugh Jackman says one thing, and then the director says one thing, which obviously they're both kind of correct. They're just wording it completely wrong. It's like.
Well, here's the thing, like, Jackman's now been quoted again to saying something completely different to what he was the other day. So it's like, what the fuck is this guy saying? Like, Mangold just said...
trying to confuse everybody.
I think the main question is, does it really matter? If it's connected or not, does it really matter? Because every X-Men movie has fucked with the canon so much at this point. Like, their timeline is so screwed, you might as well say none of the movies
But here's the thing, it matters when your director's saying, yes, it takes placed 5 years after the ending of this movie.
Yeah.
And then your actor saying something else. It's kind of, oh, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they've stayed in the movie though, so whatever he says now or whatever, maybe it'll all be answered in the movie. Maybe it'll say, 10 years after this.
That, so, like...
What, if they have another timeline that's split out from that?
No, I mean, see, I think people just get too, like, people just get too confused with the whole thing and everything. I just calm it down. The movie's gonna come out. We'll see what happens.
That's why you're not supposed to do time travel in most media, because it can get confusing if you don't have any set rules.
But like, what he's probably meaning is like that ending of Days of the Past is an alternate timeline to what they're going to carry on with.
Right.
That's how that ended up, and this is how that's going to go. So they're not constrained to one another. They can do what you want on one side, while this side sticks to that.
Unfortunately, it's like it starts to run into that uncanny BVS territory where it's like, people are like, don't you care about Batman and the Marth scene? I'm like, I would if that character had 3 movies of development, but like when it happens, I'm like, because it's like, I don't know this Batman. It's like, this Logan's completely different than the one we've been following, because like, this is the one that takes place after Days of Future Past, when he arrives, when he's like, oh, and Charles is like, oh, let me tell you what's happened, to Logan. So we're missing like, what, 15, 20 years of continuity that we've never seen? Like,
that's the timeline where he actually wore the suit.
Yeah.
He actually wore the mask in the timeline that we never see.
I mean, we're also kind of... I mean, that's also assuming that the first 2 X-Men are still in canon.
They are.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like, we're still missing some of those, like, trips in between Apocalypse.
That isn't in continuity is X3.
Okay, whatever that aside, I don't really care.
Although,
I'm just saying that we're still missing, like... the whole suit wearing, maybe that could be in between Apocalypse and the end of Days of Future Past, because there's that whole time where in Days of Future Past where his like consciousness travels back into the future instead of like staying in the past. So you're missing all that time. So maybe he does that. I mean, to be honest, it's like this is just gonna be a good movie. It looks like so.
I get the feeling we're gonna get him in the suit in a picture. And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping and praying they do a scene, because it's clear that Laura is a fan of the X-Men comics. So he's going to put the suit on to make her happy in some way, shape, or form.
That would be more likely than just him suiting up randomly for the ending fight. It would be more likely to do it like that, because they give all that family.
You can literally have that scene before the ending fight. And you can have
I mean, because like if he just like randomly suits up, like, okay, this is kind of random, unless it makes sense in the movie. But at the same time, that one scene in the trailer where Professor X is like, look around, take this in, all that, people smiling. I could see Logan putting on the costume for X-23 just because it would make her happy and all that, and kind of that sentimental vibe. That makes more sense than just suiting up randomly, I think.
Well, if his healing factor is not as good as it is, like, I'm not sure if they've said it is like that in this movie, but that's an excuse.
Well, like, if they make a thing in the movie to make sense why he would put it on, sure. But right now,
I'm pretty sure they hinted at that, because as he's getting older, his mutant powers, so that's why he still has like the scars all over his hands now. Like, so it's like that would be a great way. He's like, I got to do this last fight. I need to suit up one more time. It's like, this suit has some sort of like I don't know, whatever the hell you could put in there.
Or it has Kevlar.
Right, sure. It's like,
or just the leather jacket. Just make it leather.
Can you imagine how great that would be? You get this entire movie that looks just like the trailer, then at the end he's like, I gotta put on this yellow spandex suit. Hold up.
Well, wouldn't that be the problem with like we had with the Wolverine, where it just kind of turned too comic-y at the very end?
We would have loved it because it's the suit.
The fact they deleted the mask, like, and the gloves and shit from the end of the Wolverine was a big problem for a lot of people.
See,
that made people mad.
That would even make it too comic-y, just him opening it up. I don't get why they took that away.
How
but
would it make it too comic-y?
No, I said it wouldn't.
Giant chrome turtle.
Yeah. He just fought a giant chrome samurai. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't, because it makes it would make more sense than what actually happened at the end.
It was taken out because Bryan Singer didn't want to use the mask in Days of Future Past, and for some reason he can retroactively change movies that he's not even involved with.
Well, he was the guy who started it, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but he also pissed off to do Superman and left it with Brett Ratner. Yeah. So he kind of gave up the rights. It's like if you give up your child for adoption, you can't just change your mind 10 years later.
Well, how do we know
honest, who
they
cares?
weren't like, hey, you could go do Superman. It's okay. We'll bring on someone. And then they're like, oh, it's the wrong idea. Come back. We need you.
Fox were pissed off that he left them.
I-
But he left because of Tom Rothman. That's the thing.
Let's face it, he's missing the Phoenix Saga again. So who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
He's got his hands off.
See, this is why I gotta watch the movie Apocalypse so I can know the Phoenix Saga, like at the very end of the movie.
Oh,
I mean, not the actual
They
comic.
somehow managed to do the Phoenix thing worse than X-Men 3. If that's
Nah,
possible. In my opinion. I mean, it's closer to the comic, but it's so pointless and out of nowhere and just over in 30 seconds.
Nowhere, yeah, but it was actually Giant Firebird. Like,
that was... Yeah, that
was
was
100 times.
that was cool, but it was there for 30 seconds, then it was just gone.
Doesn't matter. 30 seconds is more.
And it had no consequences for her going Dark Phoenix either. Like, there was nothing. Just afterwards, she's like, oh, I'm fine, I guess. That really got to me. That annoyed me. I'm not that big an X-Men fan, but that annoyed me.
The Logan trailer looks great. A lot of people are gonna like. I mean, I doubt it'll go for like Best Picture at the Oscars for one. Some people actually want, but
Best Picture. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it could be one of those movies that, like, you know, Dark Knight, Winter Soldier, that just kind of go more.
Yeah.
So,
I'm hoping it will be remembered as Hugh Jackman's best performance.
We can hope, you know.